Hello, this is video number 2 in my series of assumptions we have about debate that might not really be that great or might be misnomers or misconceptions of the power of debate. So this misconception of debate is one that I think is pretty popular, which is debate is about leaving your opponent completely speechless, dumbfounded, confused, and with a cotton mouth, dry mouth. They're like, this kind of stunned thing. And that's been glamorized in a lot of film and a lot of representations of debate that we see, is that when you stun somebody, when you do what John McCain called gotcha strategy and discourse that he was very critical of when he was running for president, what you get is a false sense of security and a false sense of the quality of your idea. Winning a debate or having an audience side with you on your position in a debate easily becomes the false sense of security that that idea is good. Debate might not be the best place to test whether or not your idea is the truth, but it is a wonderful place to test whether or not you can get other people to take your idea seriously and believe in it. But we don't want to conflate the idea that your opponent not having anything to say means that an argument is good. That's almost like a fallacy in a way. I'm not sure if it's an actual formal fallacy, but that's a pretty bad standard for an argument being good. What we would want for something to be believable is that it has good evidence, good support, it's reasonable, it passes the look out the window test, it is meaningful, I can explain it to other people, I'm passionate about it. It seems to follow historical and other expert advice. Maybe not 100%, but it gets there, and it seems like something would be good to do. So instead of thinking of debate as like I have to render my opponent into silence or defeat them completely, making everything they've said sound stupid and nonsensical, maybe a way of combating that assumption about debate is to say debate is about defending your position and defending a way of looking at the topic, a way of defending the topic and making it make sense that would appeal to the audience. It's about running a line. And a lot of people have said this before about debate, but it's about defending and running a line of argument that is based on your own thesis about what's valuable, how do we interpret things, or what's ethical or what's moral, or what should be the litmus test or the rubric for policy that we have. So that line, that opening and starting line that one has in a debate is extremely important. That line would be the reason why you are speaking on the side of the motion or the topic that you are. And it's not that the topic is 100% bad or 100% good. That's not good. It has to kind of be broken down a little bit to say, because we believe in X, we support this motion. Because we believe in the principle of we believe this motion. So like in our debates that we're doing this semester, spring 2021, some of the potential topics, one of them is we should eliminate the Senate. We don't need the Senate anymore. So you could say, because we believe that the states are the primary members of the U.S. Constitution, we cannot get rid of the Senate. Now that might be a little too specific, so how about something like this? Because we believe in representative government as the most important principle in having a government that is representative of all members, we must eliminate the Senate. And we have a plan of how to do that. We don't really need a Senate. We can run with just a unicameral legislature in the United States. That could be good too. You could even go even more philosophical and say, because we believe the best governments in the world divide power. They divide power between the different parts of the government that control things. That's why we think the Senate should be preserved. So you can go back and forth on this and think about what your line might be, but the best kind of lines are ones that offer a larger principle the audience already buys into about what's moral or ethical or good or true, and then bases the relationship on the topic based on that. It's not the traditional way we think about it, which is you get the topic and then you try to find as many different factual reasons why the topic is true. That's not really debating. That's much more of like trying to debate in a world where you've been taught that facts are the only thing worth saying, that scientific facts are the gold standard of all facts. These kind of things harm and limit the ability of discourse to help serve us when we're trying to decide things about how society should function and what kind of policies we should have, or what kind of beliefs are better to have than others. Like when you're talking to neighbors, even something like marijuana legislation, which is something very popular, should be based on principles of governance, not based on whether or not you think it's evil. You can have that debate, but you could certainly say, well, I don't think marijuana is that bad. Oh, I think it's terrible. And this can go back and forth, but you could say, well, I don't think marijuana is that bad, but more importantly, I think that people should have the maximum freedom to consume what they want in society. And I think government's role, a good government's role, is to allow them that permissive option to try things out, even if it might potentially harm them. And we have an inconsistent principle with that right now. We allow you to drink as much Coca-Cola as you want and eat as many Oreos as you want. But we don't allow people to smoke as much marijuana as they want. In fact, we don't permit any of that unless you're in Colorado or Washington State, or where else, California. But even there might be limits. But it's strange that you could go to McDonald's as much as you want and ingest that and not be allowed to ingest the other thing. It's an inconsistent principle. So that might be a line too, is like looking at inconsistency in the way things are done to say, well, based on what we believe now, it's impossible to support this. Or based on what we believe now, it'd be inconsistent to support this. Or based on what we believe now, completely, absolutely consistent to support this, and we should support this. Debate, therefore, is about testing two lines of argument. So every debate becomes a test of two sets of beliefs or principles that we hold as a society, that we find important, and we're looking at them through the microscope of the particular topic or controversy that we're dealing with. I think that's a really good way to think about it, because it makes debate this kind of fun thing to where you're not just trying to find the facts that support the topic you're given, or the topic that you and your friends come up with, but it's much more of wow, we can have a great discussion about, whether we value individual health or whether we value collective identity formation. Which one is more important? Is it worth it to risk your individual health and the length of your life for the collective formation of identity? I mean, this would be one of the ways you could start your line on an argument about banning contact football. Stuff like that, I think, is a really fun part of debate. Furthermore, this awakens a part of debate that people don't like to think about, which is debate as an activity of inquiry and an activity based on an epistemic activity. That is, it creates knowledge instead of just reflecting on the quality of knowledge created elsewhere. And this is an old debate about the role of words in discourse. Most people are taught most of their lives, you've probably been taught this too, that discourse, talking about something, is what one does after one's comfortable they've discovered the truth about it through other means. So once you discover the scientific or philosophical consensus on whether something is true or morally right, then you are authorized to engage in debate about it. Then you're authorized to speak about it. This is also limiting the power of discourse, the power of words. We're immersed in words. We're like in the ocean of words. We're like fish in the ocean of words. We depend on words to stay alive. It's necessary for our movement. It's necessary for our ability to respirate and stay alive that way physiologically. It's necessary for our way to sort of gather in groups and move in terms of schools or whatever. I mean, this metaphor is getting a little crazy, but you get my point. It's something we're immersed in, and so since we're immersed in it, we don't notice how dependent we are on that. Every philosophical truth and every scientific fact comes to us through discourse, through a well-measured and controlled discourse by the standards of philosophy and science, but a discourse nonetheless, which means it has kind of a life of its own. It's moving on its own in weird ways, and it can be changed, and we can make mistakes in it. It also means that the scientific truth and philosophical truth and political truth, whatever these discourses are in these different fields, are not necessarily appropriate for every kind of discourse that we have, every kind of debate that we have. If we're not having scientific debate, scientific fact might not be that relevant. We might want to look to other places to generate the reasons why we would support our side. So the line model allows us that freedom to say, Let's look at what the audience is thinking, who's going to be listening to this debate. Let's look at what's floating out there in the world. What are the different things people are talking about? And let's construct a line from that. So, should someone be impeached who's out of office? Well, we're not going to be able to answer that with facts. We can list facts of what Donald Trump has been accused of doing. We list facts of what how these things are not true, or how Donald Trump has done these good things. That's unsatisfactory for that debate. We need to think about what principles of a good society or an effective government we'd like to live under. What are those things that we would value there? And why would that support impeaching or not impeaching someone who's out of office? That's really the more important thing there. So this has gone on a lot longer than I thought it should go. So I'll just end by saying debate's not about defending with a bunch of facts every single truth that you've every single thing you can find about a topic. It's not that at all. What it's about instead is defending a line of reasoning based on what society values, what you think is important to have in government. And these kind of things are the things that debate allows us to test. And we learn something new about our core beliefs every time we debate, which means debate is like inquiry. It's investigative. And it's certainly not this like place you go after you found the truth to then say, debate me, bro, because you think you have the truth and you just want to hit everybody with it like it's a big bat or something. That's not it at all. What it is you approach with your best possible interpretation based on the way you see the gestalt of society. There's all kinds of things popping in and popping out all the time. Bring one of these views forward, and let's see if that view defends either doing this motion or not. And this also opens, the way you can support your case is just very broad at that point. You don't just need numbers and statistics and facts. Interpretation is what debate is about, and about testing interpretations based on our core values, our principles, what we hold most dear. That's really the fun part of debate, and that's really what debate is about, not just silencing your opponent, shutting them down. That's not it at all. It's about, no, I want to hear your view. Let's compare our principles here. It's not about fact testing. It's about which one of these principles is really most important in this contingent moment for this controversy worded in this way. Let's learn a little something about our articulation of what we hold in here. Whatever we hold in here, if we can bring it out through here and take it in through here, we have a really good chance of advancing the way we think and the way we're able to talk about what we want and what we need our society to be for us. So that's video 2. Pretty long. Sorry about that. I meant to keep these kind of short, but I don't think it's going to happen. I guess that means there's 4 more.